Madam President, thank you very much. I wanted to speak on the pending matter, which is the so-called stimulus plan, and with great concern about where we are. As we hear, the plan has been agreed to, and the package is being put together. However, we have yet to see it. So I'm going to make some assumptions about the things I hear may or may not be included in it. It appears that we have some clear idea of some things that definitely won't be a part of this package. Fact is that as we approach this problem, and this is a serious problem for our nation, the President talked about a timely, targeted, and temporary spending package. The President talked about it being timely because we needed to get the money out the door now so that it would get into our mainstream of commerce, so that it could get into the economy, so that we could avoid a deep and long-lasting recession. Now, it also needed to be targeted because it made no sense to do those things that would spend money but not create jobs, not create economic activity. The type of tax cuts that are geared towards creating more jobs in the marketplace, not simply to give money to people that may or may not ultimately be spent. And it needed to be temporary because we well know that government spending in excess during a time of a recovery, when the government should not be overspending, should not be overheating the economy, could lead to a slowdown of the recovery because it would increase inflation. So that is why when the President made those comments, I was excited, I was positive, and I was very positive in thinking that this is exactly what our country needed at this point in time. However, we have found that as this has evolved through the halls of Congress, that this is not what we're getting. We're getting an unfocused spending plan that spends money on things that are far afield from shovel-ready, ready to get out the door types of projects, but which is really an unfocused spending measure that, in my view, and in the view of many others, spends too much at a time when we can hardly afford to be overspending needlessly, but it also does not spend on those things which are designed to create the jobs that America desperately needs today. In my view, there are ways that we could have crafted a package. I made a proposal because I do believe that to simply oppose what the President proposes and what the majority in this body and across the hall have put together is not enough to just say, no, don't do it. We have got a responsibility to be responsible and offer alternatives, to offer a proposal, because at this point in time, we know that we are in deep and serious economic times. So the key to this is oppose but propose. And the fact is that some of us did attempt mightily to see if we could not come to a bipartisan compromise, a spending package that would have spent about $650 billion, a very, very big package of spending, but the spending would have been focused in what things I believe would have gotten out the door quickly. We know also that it would have been good to have spent on things that we needed to spend the money on anyway. In fact, military reset, the resetting of equipment that has been damaged or lost in the long struggles in Iraq and Afghanistan would have been a great way for us to be spending on those things that we had to spend money on anyway, but at the same time, be doing so now in a manner that gets out the door in a hurry. We have the infrastructure in place for our military purchases of equipment. We could have easily done that, and that would have helped. We also could have done more in the infrastructure field. I think that this plan is not big enough as it relates to the building of highways and bridges. The fact is, the presiding officer well knows the need for bridges. We know in Minnesota the tremendous need for infrastructure construction. I was for more of that. I wanted to see more bridges. We know that across this nation we have bridges that are failing, that need to be rebuilt, and more highway and more bridges, more infrastructure in that sense would have been, in my view, the right way to approach it. Obviously, a part of this package should also be tax cuts that were geared to job creation. The fact is that there's a difference between just giving money to people who today would use it either to pay down debt or to simply hoard and hold because they're fearful of what is coming in the economy. And I believe that more focused tax cuts like on payroll deduction or the corporate tax rate being reduced, which ultimately it is America's small businesses that are going to put America back to work, giving those small businesses a tax break would have encouraged them to get people back on the rolls of the employed. My largest disappointment of all is that this plan fails to address the problem that got us into this mess in the first place. Now, why did the president and my governor appear in Fort Myers a couple of days ago? Because that is a foreclosure capital of the world, of America. That is where more houses are being foreclosed than any place else in the state of Florida. I was just speaking with a group of government officials from Charlotte County, just a little north of Fort Myers. 11% unemployment. Terrible problem with foreclosures. Please do something about foreclosures, because if we can stop houses from being foreclosed, we do two very important things. We keep a family in their home. We keep that family whole. We keep that street from having a foreclosed house. We keep that community from yet declining further and further into the declining prices of homes. But in addition to that, we also do something else. We sustain home values in a way that will help yet another foreclosure from occurring as the declining spiral of housing prices continues to go downhill. The second one, which I would have greatly loved to have seen in this package, and I'm disappointed to know that it is not, is a proposal by my colleague and dear friend from Georgia, Senator Isaacson, which is to give a $15,000 tax credit to anyone who purchases a home. Not just first-time home buyers, anyone purchasing a home. Because we know that one of the great problems in the housing market today is that there's an enormous inventory of unsold homes, many of them the result of foreclosures. But if we encourage home buyers, potential home buyers, to get a significant tax break, then they would get into the marketplace, they'd make the decision to buy, and we could begin then to stave off this continuing cycle of declining home prices, stalled sales, more foreclosures. I know that when the president went to Fort Myers, he went there because there is a foreclosure problem. If there was not a foreclosure problem in Fort Myers, if the housing market was back and vibrant, there would not be double-digit inflation in Lee County and in Charlotte County. And I know my governor would like to see this package to pass. But I don't know that my governor understands all of the details on this package, that there will be nothing here to help with Florida's housing economy. The number one problem in Florida's economic troubles that we have today are related to housing. And until we address the housing problem, we're not going to bring Florida back to economic health. At the end of the day, there's not enough largesse that can come to Florida from the federal government to fill the coffers of state needs. What we need is for Florida's economy to get back on its feet. What we need is for there to be tax cuts so that Florida's taxpayers have more money to spend into their economy. We need to work on the housing problem so we can get the housing market back vibrant again. We need to work on the overall economy of this country so that tourism comes back to our state. All of these things working in unison will bring America back to economic health. This package, unfortunately, misses the mark. And one of the grave dangers in it is that at the cost of almost just a hair under $800 billion, there are not enough additional hundreds of billions that we can safely spend. We've got to get it right, because some of us in the banking committee this week heard from the Secretary of the Treasury, who told us that get ready because another almost $2 trillion more is going to be asked of you for the financial institutions. At the end of the day, this is very costly, and at some point, continued government spending just is not going to cut it. So that is why it is so important that this package be gotten right. I hate to oppose this package because I would have loved for us to have come to something that truly was a bipartisan package, that it wasn't just a way of getting 3 votes, but it was really, in fact, a way of working together and getting the best thinking of all sides and working on something that truly was bipartisan. The fact of the matter is that not working in that fashion has caused for some of us to have to oppose this package. I hate doing that. It would have been great to have been with our new president, and I do wish him well, and I do hope that this package will succeed, and I do hope that it will have the desired effect. However, in my conscience, I can't support it because I just don't feel that it does what it should have done, that it does what this economy currently needs, that it does what, in fact, all of us need to work together towards doing, which is to get our country back on the road to recovery. So with great regret is that I will not be able to support this package. And now I look forward to seeing the final outcome, because we have not all read the bill yet. And when I do read it, I will again analyze it to see if the component parts are there in a way that will allow me to support it. But unfortunately, it appears clear to me from the information we have on the package that, in fact, that will not be the case. And so I am increasingly disappointed, but at the same time, my hope is that it will succeed, because at this moment, at this juncture in history. We all need for our country to be successful. We want for there to be success so that Americans can get back to work, so that our nation's economy can get back to prosperity. Madam President, I thank you for the time, and I yield the floor.